Every night, as we surrender to sleep, a veil descends, not a curtain of darkness, but a membrane between worlds. Behind that membrane, the mind drifts into the unfamiliar theater of dreams. Faces emerge that we've never met, landscapes unfold that no eye has seen, and voices whisper truths that dissolve by dawn. For centuries, we've been told that dreams are merely fragments of thought, residues of daily life recomposed into surreal narratives by a restless brain. But what if this understanding, this tidy, clinical dismissal, was only the first layer of a much deeper mystery? What if dreams are not dreams at all? What if they are transmissions, signals from a dimension adjacent to our own, flickering across the fragile frequency of human consciousness? Imagine it for a moment. When the conscious mind sleeps, it does not fall silent, it tunes. The chatter of waking life fades, and like a radio detaching from static, awareness begins to catch something else, something ancient and deliberate, vibrating beyond the visible spectrum. This idea is not as alien as it seems. Every tradition, from the mystics of the East to the shamans of forgotten tribes, has whispered of dream realms where gods, ancestors, or beings of light commune with the living. To them, the dream was never fiction, it was communication. Science, of course, resists such poetry. It demands proof, mechanism, data, yet even science, in its deepest corridors, admits mystery. For instance, no consensus truly explains why we dream. The most elegant theories only describe how: rapid eye movements, neural firings, chemical cascades, but not why the mind invests such energy into conjuring entire worlds while the body lies still. It's as if consciousness refuses to rest, as though it must travel somewhere, report to something, or translate signals from a greater source. Perhaps dreams are that translation, the language of the unseen, written in metaphor and symbol. Each image, each impossible event, is not random chaos but encrypted data from the other side of the membrane. The dreamer is not merely a spectator, they are a receiver, a vessel through which information passes, reshaped by emotion, memory, and archetype. You do not dream, you are dreamed through. Consider this. When a dream feels like a message, when you wake trembling, or strangely comforted, or filled with an intuition you cannot explain, that sensation is not an illusion. It's recognition. Something in you, older than your name, senses that what just occurred was not fantasy. It was contact. The message may not come in language, but through resonance, a symbol, a gesture, a light, a loss. Dreams are the Morse code of the cosmos, and we, the sleepers, are their translators. To think this way changes everything. It turns the act of sleeping from a biological necessity into a ritual of communion. It reframes nightmares as distorted transmissions, signals scrambled by fear, intercepted by the subconscious and refracted through trauma. It transforms déjà vu into confirmation, a glitch in time where the same message echoes twice. The other side, in this vision, is not heaven or hell, but the deeper strata of consciousness itself, the collective field from which thought arises. The unseen infrastructure that connects every mind, every memory, every possibility. Call it the quantum field, the Akashic record, or the dream ocean. Names do not matter. What matters is the recognition that reality is porous, and through those pores, light leaks, sometimes as intuition, sometimes as art, and often as dreams. The modern mind, obsessed with control, fears this permeability. It labels dreams as subconscious noise, as if to domesticate the unknown. But the mystic knows better. The mystic listens. They understand that in dreams, something vast borrows the language of the personal to whisper universal truths. That the dreamer is both a participant and a witness to a larger conversation. That each dream, no matter how trivial it seems, is a fragment of correspondence between realms. And if this is true, then the dream world is not merely a reflection of waking life, it is a frontier. A space of active transmission where consciousness receives instructions, warnings, and revelations from dimensions that pulse just beyond perception. We are not dreaming randomly, we are decoding broadcasts. In this sense, to fall asleep is to open a portal. The body lies anchored to gravity, but the mind, freed from the static of reason, extends itself into frequencies where time dissolves, where the dead still speak, where the unborn already whisper, and where the architecture of destiny is drawn in invisible ink. Your dreams are not dreams. They are transmissions from the other side, messages beamed through the lattice of being, sculpted by forces that know you more intimately than you know yourself. Every night, the universe calls out to you, wrapped in riddles and symbols, inviting you to remember your role as both receiver and sender in the grand dialogue of existence. Sleep, then, is not a retreat from consciousness but an expansion of it. It is the moment the self dissolves enough for the signal to pass through. The question is not whether you dream, but whether you are listening. If we are to accept that dreams are not mere illusions but transmissions from another plane of existence, then we must learn to read them, not as random stories born from the chaos of memory, but as structured communications encoded in metaphor, emotion, and sensation. To do this, we must first explore the architecture of transmission itself, what it is that sends, what it is that receives, and how this mysterious dialogue bridges two worlds that appear separate but are, in truth, one continuous field of awareness. When you dream, you are not simply imagining, you are participating in a vast circuit of consciousness. The dream state is not a lesser form of wakefulness, but a parallel dimension of it, tuned to a subtler wavelength. In waking life, your awareness operates at a dense frequency, bound by the laws of matter, logic, and causality. But as you sleep, this frequency softens, the static of thought dissolves, and your consciousness, once narrow like a spotlight, expands into a soft glow that can perceive signals otherwise hidden. Think of consciousness as a radio made of light, forever adjusting its dial. When you are awake, the dial is locked onto the frequency of the physical world, matter, sound, identity, gravity. When you dream, that dial shifts, and you begin to pick up faint transmissions from the realms that underlie physical reality, the ones ancient mystics called the subtle worlds. In these worlds, energy and thought are not separate. Symbol is substance, emotion is architecture, communication is vibration. Dreams, then, are the language of that vibration. They do not speak in sentences, but in symbols, atmospheres, and sensations that bypass the intellect and enter directly into the emotional body. The dream's grammar is one of resonance, where meaning is not stated but felt. A door may not be a door, it may be an invitation to change. A stranger may not be a stranger, they may embody a forgotten part of you, or a consciousness from another plane choosing your dreamscape as a vessel to communicate. At its core, this understanding rests on three interconnected ideas: that consciousness is non-local, that the boundaries of the self are permeable, and that reality itself is a layered continuum of energy and information. The dream world exists as an interface between those layers, a bridge where your personal mind and the universal mind can meet. It is here that transmissions occur, cloaked in the symbols of your own psyche so that you may recognize them. To say your dreams are from the other side is not to suggest that every dream is a ghostly visitation or a cosmic prophecy. Rather, it means that within every dream lies an origin beyond your waking narrative, a whisper from the field of intelligence that creates and sustains reality itself. Sometimes, that whisper comes from your higher consciousness, the part of you that exists beyond time and space, watching your life as if it were a single thread in an infinite tapestry. Sometimes, it comes from other intelligences, beings, souls, or archetypal forces that exist in the non-physical dimensions, using dreams as their medium of contact. And sometimes, the message comes from the future itself, folding back into your present moment through the malleable corridors of the dream state. This is the first great theme of the dream transmission: communication across boundaries. Dreams dissolve the illusion that consciousness is confined to the brain. They remind us that thought and existence are part of the same continuum. That what you perceive as your mind is merely a localized expression of a far greater network of awareness. When you dream, you're not escaping reality, you're entering a subtler layer of it. The second theme is translation. Every transmission, to be received, must be translated into a language the receiver understands. When a cosmic signal passes through the density of human consciousness, it fractures into imagery drawn from memory, emotion, and archetype. Thus, no two dreams are the same, even if they come from the same source, because each person's psyche translates the transmission through its own symbolic vocabulary. One person's vision of flying may mean liberation, another's the fear of losing control. The code of your dreams is uniquely yours, and to learn it is to learn the alphabet of your own soul. And the third theme, perhaps the most profound, is remembering. Every dream is an act of remembrance, an invitation to recall who you are beyond the human story. The other side is not necessarily a separate realm, but a higher octave of your own being. When dreams reach you, they are fragments of that higher intelligence, nudging you toward coherence, urging you to remember that the physical self is but a costume worn by the infinite. Dreams remind you that you are both the dreamer and the dreamed, both the receiver and the signal. In this light, dreaming becomes a sacred dialogue between dimensions of self. The ordinary mind may perceive only the surface images, but beneath them flows an ancient conversation between your finite consciousness and the infinite intelligence from which it arises. When we interpret our dreams purely as psychological projections, we capture only a fraction of their meaning. The deeper truth is that the psyche is a translator for the soul, and dreams are its transmissions. To truly understand your dreams, then, is to approach them not as puzzles to be solved but as frequencies to be attuned to. The question is not, what does this dream mean, but what vibration is this dream carrying? And why has it reached me now? Each dream hums with a specific resonance of healing, warning, creation, or connection. To listen deeply is to allow that resonance to reshape the waking mind, to bridge the two worlds until they no longer feel separate at all. For in the end, dreaming is not about escaping into fantasy. It is about remembering the truth that has been hidden in plain sight, that the world of sleep and the world of waking are not opposites, but reflections, that the self who dreams and the self who wakes are two faces of the same consciousness, playing their parts in the infinite theater of existence. Dreams are not dreams, they are transmissions, whispered across the membrane of reality by the very intelligence that dreamed the stars into being. To explore the deeper symbolic nature of dream transmissions is to enter a realm where story and symbol intertwine, where truth wears the costume of myth. Dreams rarely speak plainly. They encode meaning in archetypes, universal figures and motifs that transcend time and culture, because these forms are the shared language of consciousness itself. They are the alphabet of the cosmos, carved into the psyche long before the first words were spoken. When you dream, this alphabet rearranges itself into narratives that seem personal yet carry echoes of something eternal. Imagine for a moment that every dream is a parable, sent not from your mind but through it, a signal refracted by your identity into the imagery you can comprehend. Each dream you recall is a piece of a grander mythology, authored by something vast and unseen. The ancients understood this. They told stories of gods who entered dreams to deliver messages, of oracles who could read the secret symbols written in sleep. But those gods were never external, they were personifications of higher consciousness, speaking to humanity in the language of metaphor, Consider the recurring dream of falling, a universal image shared across cultures and centuries. To the rational mind, it is a fear response, a primal echo of danger. But to the deeper self, it is a communication from the field beyond matter. Falling is not punishment, it is a reminder. It signifies the descent from pure consciousness into density, the soul's journey from boundless awareness into embodiment. Each fall is an act of remembering what it feels like to lose the infinite, to surrender to gravity and limitation. And each awakening from that fall is a rehearsal of return, an ascent back into the realization that you were never separate to begin with. Then there is the dream of flight. In waking life, we are bound by physics. But in dreams, we soar without effort. Flight is the signal of liberation, the coded message of remembrance that you are not confined to flesh and bone. It is the soul whispering, "You are not gravity's prisoner, you are the wind that moves through it." Flying dreams remind us that the human body, wondrous as it is only a vessel, a temporary anchor in the ocean of space-time. The signal behind the symbol is freedom, a transmission of expansion. Or take the dream of being chased, a shadow pursuing you through shifting landscapes, your breath quickening as you flee an unseen force. What you are running from is never external. It is the unintegrated frequency of your own consciousness, the unacknowledged signal seeking recognition. The chase is the universe's way of telling you that what you fear is trying to return home. In this symbolic dance, the pursuer and the pursued are the same entity, reenacting the eternal loop of awakening until one day you turn, face the shadow, and realize it was you all along. Some dreams take on luminous clarity, where deceased loved ones appear, or where one encounters beings of light, teachers, or guides. These are not hallucinations but transmissions across dimensions. When consciousness loosens its grip on the physical, it becomes permeable to higher frequencies. Those who have passed on are not gone. They exist in the same continuum of awareness, vibrating just beyond the threshold of ordinary perception. In dreams, that threshold dissolves. The encounter feels sacred because it is. It is the brief synchronization of two frequencies once divided by death. And then there are dreams that reveal future events, or visions that later unfold in waking life with uncanny precision. These are not coincidences but examples of how time behaves in the dream field. The signal from the other side is not bound by linear progression. It travels freely through the quantum fabric, where all moments coexist. Prophetic dreams are echoes from futures that already exist, touching your awareness before they crystallize into form. They are transmissions from your own timeline, sent backward through the corridors of possibility. But perhaps the most profound dream transmissions are those that do not rely on imagery at all, the ones that arrive as sensations, emotions, or pure knowing. These are the signals that speak in silence. You wake without a clear picture, yet you carry a vibration, peace, grief, love, awe, that feels too vast to belong to a single night's sleep. These are not dreams in the usual sense. They are immersions in the ocean of consciousness itself. In such moments, the dreamer is no longer receiving symbols but absorbing frequencies directly, as though the soul is being tuned by an unseen hand. Each of these examples, the fall, the flight, the chase, the visitation, the vision, the vibration, represents a facet of the same universal principle, that dreams are the theater of transmission. They allow the unseen to take form without words, the infinite to disguise itself in story so that the finite mind can understand. Every dream you recall is the residue of that contact, the shadow of a message that began in a higher octave of existence. And yet, these transmissions are not always meant to be interpreted in the analytical sense. Their purpose is not to be decoded but to be felt. The act of dreaming is itself the message, the living proof that consciousness is not isolated within a skull but woven into the fabric of reality. Dreams remind us that perception is participation, that when you dream of light, You are not imagining illumination, you are momentarily becoming it. Across history, this truth has been veiled in myth. The Aboriginal Australians spoke of the dreamtime, a primordial dimension where creation itself began, and where all beings remain connected through songlines that echo across the earth. The Egyptians viewed dreams as doorways through which the gods conveyed guidance. The Greeks built temples for dream incubation, where seekers slept to receive divine messages. And though modern civilization has replaced these sanctuaries with the sterile hum of screens, the transmissions have never ceased. We have simply forgotten how to listen. To dream is to step back into that ancient conversation. Every night, as your eyes close, you rejoin a lineage of souls who have crossed that same bridge, tuning themselves to the frequencies of remembrance. Your dreams are not products of the mind. They are echoes of creation, shimmering with messages that call you to awaken not from sleep, but from forgetfulness. To understand that your dreams are transmissions from the other side is one thing. To live in accordance with that understanding is another. The realization that dreams are messages reframes not only the meaning of sleep but the very structure of waking life. It implies that existence is not a closed circuit of matter and mind, but an open network of communication, alive, intelligent, and responsive. Every night you are invited to tune into that network, to receive fragments of cosmic dialogue meant not to entertain you, but to awaken you. The question becomes, how do you bring that awareness into the daylight world, where noise, routine, and distraction so easily drown out the whisper of transmission? The first step is to shift your attitude toward dreaming itself. Treat sleep not as an act of escape or rest alone, but as a sacred encounter. The body may rest, but consciousness does not. When you prepare for sleep with intention, silencing devices, softening your breathing, and consciously inviting contact, you begin to realign your frequency. The dream realm, after all, responds to invitation. It is not a door you force open, it is one that opens when you remember to knock. Setting an intention before sleep. Show me what I need to understand. Or, let me receive clearly tonight, is not superstition. It is signal alignment. It tells the deeper layers of consciousness that you are listening, that you are ready to participate in the exchange. When you wake, the integration begins. Most transmissions dissolve quickly upon return to the waking frequency. This is not because they were unimportant, but because they belong to a subtler wavelength that fades under the harsh light of logic. To preserve them, you must act immediately. Write, sketch, whisper to yourself what you recall, not as a record of events but as a capture of energy. Sometimes a single phrase or image holds the essence of the transmission, other times the emotion itself is the message. Do not judge whether the dream makes sense. The dream's logic is not the mind's logic, it is the geometry of the soul. Over time, patterns emerge. You will begin to notice recurring symbols, familiar atmospheres, or beings who return with different faces but the same energy. These are not coincidences. They are ongoing threads in the dialogue between your waking and dreaming selves. Each pattern reveals an aspect of your frequency, the unresolved emotions, the lessons you are being guided toward, or the opportunities waiting to be recognized. To engage with these patterns consciously is to step into apprenticeship with the unseen. You become a student of your own transmissions. But integration does not end with interpretation. True integration is transformation, the application of dream wisdom to the living fabric of your days. A dream that warns of drowning may invite you to examine where in life you are submerged by emotion. A vision of a locked door may mirror an unopened potential waiting for courage. A dream of being guided through darkness by light may remind you that intuition, not reason, must lead in uncertain times. The moment you apply these insights, you complete the circuit. The signal sent from the other side finds embodiment in action. The dream ceases to be abstract, it becomes real through you. The more you live in this way, the more porous the boundary between dreaming and waking becomes. Life itself begins to feel like an ongoing transmission. Synchronicities multiply, those curious alignments of events, symbols, and timings that seem too precise to be random. In truth, synchronicity is the waking equivalent of dreaming, a transmission from the same field, woven into physical events rather than nighttime visions. When you follow those signs, you are participating in the same cosmic dialogue that continues while you sleep. Dream integration also demands discernment. Not every dream is a cosmic dispatch. Some are echoes of personal noise, residual thought forms discharging from the mind. The art lies in listening beyond the static. Transmission dreams carry a distinct vibration, lucid, coherent, emotionally resonant, and often accompanied by an ineffable sense of presence. You wake not merely remembering them but transformed by them. They leave behind a trace of clarity or awe that lingers throughout the day. Like a faint perfume of the infinite. You can deepen this attunement through mindful practices, meditation, contemplation, journaling, or time in silence. These are not rituals of escape, but recalibrations of frequency. They make the waking mind resemble the dream mind, receptive, intuitive, expansive. In meditation, you tune into the same bandwidth where transmissions flow. You may even notice that insights arise spontaneously, as if the dream world has learned to speak while you are awake. This is the true integration, when the dialogue continues without interruption. When your life becomes the dream, and your dream becomes life. Practically, this awareness shifts how you see others as well. If your dreams are transmissions, so too are theirs. Every being becomes a node in the great web of communication. Conversations, encounters, even conflicts take on a deeper meaning. They are not random collisions but exchanges of frequency. The same intelligence that speaks through dreams also orchestrates these waking interactions. To live as though this were true is to live as a receiver, listening not only at night but in every moment. This understanding also brings healing. Many people are haunted by nightmares, visions of fear, loss, or distortion that seem cruel or senseless. But when you view nightmares as scrambled transmissions, their nature changes. They are not punishments but repair signals, attempts by the deeper consciousness to purge blocked energy. To translate trauma into visibility, the nightmare is the system's way of flushing interference so that clearer contact can occur. When you face the nightmare with curiosity rather than terror, the signal stabilizes, and the shadow transforms into instruction. To live in alignment with dream transmissions is not to retreat from the material world, but to perceive it as part of the same continuum. Work, relationships, creativity, all of these become extensions of the conversation. When you follow the subtle guidance that dreams offer, you find yourself in synchrony with the field. Decisions flow more intuitively. Coincidences guide your path, and even challenges feel orchestrated toward understanding. You begin to realize that the boundary between the waking and the dreaming self was an illusion all along. Ultimately, to integrate the transmissions of dreams is to recognize that life itself is a dream, a lucid dream of the universe reflecting upon itself through you. You are not the isolated receiver but the transmitter too, sending frequencies back through thought, intention, and action. Every dream that reaches you changes you. Every act that follows sends a new signal into the cosmos. The dialogue is infinite, reciprocal, alive. There comes a moment when the dreamer awakens, not from sleep, but from the illusion that dreaming is a lesser state of consciousness. This is the true awakening, realizing that your dreams were never figments of a restless mind, but letters written in the ink of eternity. They are the gentle tapping at the window of your soul. The way the other side, whatever name you give it, source, spirit, the unified field, the oversoul, reminds you that separation is the greatest illusion of all. You were never truly alone in your dreams. Every image, every whisper, every encounter was an echo of the infinite trying to reach you. In the waking world, you interpret everything as matter, logic, sequence. But in the dreaming world, you interpret by resonance, emotion, vibration. The other side doesn't speak in sentences, it speaks in symbols, frequencies, archetypes, and light. What you call a dream is the meeting point between two realities, the material and the immaterial, where the veil thins just enough for communication to occur. To live awake is to honor those messages, not as random curiosities, but as the language of your higher self. You begin to notice how your waking life mirrors your dreaming life, how your fears bleed through your sleep, and how your visions foretell the shape of your destiny. The dream is not an interruption of life, it is life seen from another angle. The same intelligence that animates your heartbeat speaks through your symbols at night. We are taught to dismiss dreams as the residue of neurons. Yet humanity's greatest revolutions, scientific, artistic, and spiritual, were often seated in the soil of dreams. Mendeleev saw the periodic table in a dream. Kekule saw the structure of benzene in a dream. Tesla communed with visions that came to him between waking and sleep. Ancient seers built entire cosmologies upon dream revelation. Even the prophets, in every sacred tradition, were dream interpreters at heart. Why, then, do we still consider dreams as lesser truths? The truth is that dreams have never stopped transmitting. What has faltered is our reception. We have grown so entangled in the hum of digital lights, the noise of deadlines, the endless scroll of distraction, that our inner antennas rust with disuse. The other side still speaks, it always has, but few listen deeply enough to decode its pulse. The path to reconnection begins not with grand rituals but with stillness. Before you sleep, whisper your intent to the invisible, not as a demand, but as a reverent invitation. Ask not, "What will I dream tonight?" but "What message wishes to reach me?" When you awaken, don't rush to your screens or your routines. Sit in the hush between worlds. Let the memory of the dream unfurl like mist. Record whatever you recall, no matter how fractured or strange. Over time, you'll begin to see patterns, threads of continuity weaving through your nights, guiding your choices, healing your wounds, revealing who you are beneath the roles and masks. The practice is not about mastering your dreams. It's about allowing your dreams to master you, to teach you, to initiate you, to reshape your perception of what is real. In this new understanding, dreaming becomes a dialogue. You send questions out into the ether through your thoughts, and answers return through the theater of your subconscious. Some messages are clear, others cloaked in metaphor, but all carry meaning. You realize that every dream, even the most chaotic or dark, is an act of grace, because it invites you to confront what you've refused to face in waking life. In this way, nightmares become medicine, and visions become maps. To awaken spiritually is not to escape the dream, but to see the dream for what it truly is, a bridge between dimensions of consciousness. And when you begin to walk that bridge consciously, when you treat your nights as sacred voyages instead of neural noise, you step into the ancient lineage of dreamwalkers, shamans, mystics, and visionaries who have always known this truth. The other side has never been elsewhere, it has always been within, pulsing behind your closed eyes, waiting for recognition. The call now is not to simply dream, but to remember. To remember that the unseen realms are not imaginary, that communication with the beyond is not superstition, that what visits you in sleep is not random static, but finely tuned frequency. To live in alignment with this truth is to walk with reverence. Every dream becomes a message, every night a temple, every dawn a translation of divine whisper. And perhaps the greatest realization of all is this: you are not merely receiving transmissions from the other side, you are also sending them. You are both antenna and broadcaster, both seeker and signal. Every thought, every emotion, every act of consciousness ripples outward into the unseen, shaping realities beyond your comprehension. The dream world is your reflection in the cosmic mirror. When you heal within, your reflection shifts. When you awaken, the universe adjusts its frequency to meet you. So tonight, when sleep begins to claim you, do not think of it as drifting into oblivion. Think of it as crossing a luminous bridge, where your soul communes with the stars. Surrender not as a sleeper, but as a traveler. Ask with humility, what message do you wish to send me tonight? And when the answer comes, in symbols, in visions, in emotion, receive it as sacred transmission. Because in truth, your dreams were never dreams at all. They were always the universe speaking your true name through the language of light. You are the receiver. You are the transmitter. You are the message itself, traveling endlessly between worlds. Awake in both.